Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, making yourself a cup of coffee, sitting down at your kitchen table, and realizing that while you were asleep, money showed up in your account. Not because you worked overtime, not because you picked up a side gig, just because. Now here's what's strange. Most people hear that and think, that's for rich people, that's not for me. And that right there, that single thought, is exactly why most people never build real wealth. Because passive income isn't a luxury that arrives after you're already rich. It's actually the road that gets you there. But only if you understand the milestones along the way. And there are exactly 3 of them. 3 specific moments that completely change the way money works in your life. Miss them, or worse, not even know they exist, and you'll spend the next 30 years running on a financial treadmill. Hit all 3, and something genuinely shifts. So, let's talk about what those milestones actually are, why they matter more than your salary, and why crossing even the first one changes your psychology around money forever. Here's the story most of us were given about money. Go to school, get a good job, work hard, save a little, retire at 65. That's the plan, right? And for a while, it feels like it's working. You get a paycheck, you pay your bills, maybe you put a little into savings. Life moves forward. But here's the problem nobody talks about. That entire model has a hidden flaw built right into it. Your income is tied directly to your time. Every single dollar you earn requires something from you. Your hours, your energy, your presence. Which means the moment you stop working, the money stops too. Now think about that for a second. You have roughly 16 waking hours in a day. Even if you worked every single one of them, no eating, no family, no rest, there is still a hard ceiling on how much you can earn. Time is finite, and when your income depends on time, your wealth is finite too. This is what financial experts call trading time for money, and almost everyone does it. It's not wrong exactly, but it's limiting in a way most people never fully realize until they're exhausted, burned out, and wondering why they never seem to get ahead despite working so hard. Passive income breaks that equation. It means money that continues working even when you don't. And the journey toward it happens in 3 very distinct stages. The first milestone sounds almost embarrassingly small. It's the moment you earn your very first dollar from something other than your direct labor. Maybe it's $1 in interest from a high-yield savings account. Maybe it's a tiny dividend payment from an index fund. Maybe it's a few cents from a digital product you sold while you were at work. The amount is almost irrelevant. What matters is the psychological shift that happens in that moment. There's actually a fascinating thing that happens in the human brain when we experience something for the first time. Psychologists call it proof of concept, and it's incredibly powerful. Before that first dollar, passive income is abstract. It's a concept, a theory, something you read about. After that first dollar, it becomes real. It becomes something your brain now believes is actually possible for you personally. Think of it like this. Imagine you've never ridden a bike. Someone tells you that balance is possible, that you can move forward without putting your feet down. It sounds logical, but until the moment you actually feel it, until you glide forward and realize you're not falling, it doesn't truly click. That first passive income dollar is your first moment of gliding. And here's the deeper thing about Milestone 1. It forces you to think differently about how you spend money. Once you understand that money can work for you, every dollar you spend takes on a new question. Could this dollar be working instead? You stop seeing money as something to consume and start seeing it as something to generate. That's a completely different relationship with money, and it starts with $1 that earned itself. The second milestone is where things start to feel real in your daily life. This is the point where your passive income grows large enough to cover one actual monthly expense. Not savings, not a goal, an actual recurring bill. Maybe your streaming subscriptions cost $20 a month. Maybe your phone bill is $50. Maybe it's a utility. Whatever it is, the day your investment returns, your dividends, your rental income, or your side asset covers that bill completely, something changes. Here's the psychology behind why this milestone matters so much.
Human beings are deeply wired to connect abstract concepts to concrete, tangible things. Before Milestone 2, passive income is a number on a screen. It feels distant, theoretical, almost like a game. But the moment you can say, my investments paid my phone bill this month, it becomes real in your body, not just in your mind. You feel it, and once you feel it, you want more of it. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called variable reward reinforcement. It's the same mechanism behind why games are addictive. When you get an unpredictable but exciting reward, your brain releases dopamine and drives you to keep going. Passive income, especially in the early stages where it's growing month by month, activates a similar loop. Each milestone becomes a reward that motivates the next behavior. Milestone 2 also does something practical. It begins to loosen the grip that expenses have over your stress. Think about the low-level financial anxiety most people carry around with them, that constant background hum of what if something goes wrong this month. Even covering one small bill with passive income reduces that anxiety slightly, and when repeated across many bills over time, that relief compounds just like interest does. This is the one that changes everything at a fundamental level. Milestone 3 is the point where your passive income is large enough to cover your basic needs: rent or mortgage, food, utilities, transportation, the floor of your life. This isn't full retirement necessarily. It's not a mansion and a yacht. It's something far more valuable than those things. It's optionality. Here's what most people misunderstand about wealth. They think the goal of building wealth is to become rich, but the actual goal, the thing that transforms your quality of life, is freedom from financial fear. And that freedom arrives the moment your survival is no longer dependent on showing up to a job you might not love, for a boss who might not value you, in a system that can let you go at any time. When Milestone 3 hits, the entire nature of work changes. You're no longer working because you have to. You're working because you choose to. And that single shift, from obligation to choice, is one of the most psychologically liberating experiences a person can have. Studies on autonomy and happiness consistently show that perceived control over your own life is one of the strongest predictors of well-being. More than salary, more than job title, more than prestige. When people feel like they choose their circumstances rather than being trapped by them, their entire emotional landscape shifts. Milestone 3 gives you that control. Now here's the deeper idea, the thing most financial content skips over entirely. These 3 milestones aren't just financial targets, they're psychological transformations. At each stage, you don't just have more money, you become a different kind of thinker about money. You shift from scarcity thinking, I need to protect what I have, to abundance thinking, my money can grow and multiply. And those two mindsets produce radically different behaviors over time. Scarcity thinking makes you hoard money in low-yield accounts because it feels safe. Abundance thinking makes you invest it because you understand that real safety comes from growth, not stillness. Scarcity thinking keeps you chasing a higher salary as the only solution. Abundance thinking has you building multiple streams, so no single source ever has total power over you. And the beautiful irony, the milestones themselves create the mindset shifts. You don't need to somehow force yourself to think abundantly before you start. You start small, you hit milestone 1, and the mindset begins to change on its own. The action produces the belief, not the belief the other way around. This is also why waiting until you feel ready or until you have enough money to start investing is one of the most expensive mistakes people make, because the first milestone, the one that begins the transformation, is accessible to almost anyone with even a small amount to put to work. So, what does this actually mean for you? Step 1. Focus only on milestone 1 right now. Don't think about replacing your income. Don't think about retiring early. Just ask yourself, what is the smallest, most accessible way I can earn $1 from something other than my direct labor? For most people, that starts with opening an account that earns real interest or investing a small amount into a broad index fund that pays dividends. The goal isn't the return. The goal is the experience of seeing money generate money. Step 2, track your passive income separately. Give it its own line. Watch it grow. When it reaches the size of a small bill, consciously celebrate that. Let yourself feel it. This isn't just motivational fluff. It's reinforcing the psychological loop that keeps you building. Step 3, play the long game. Milestone 3 doesn't happen in a month. For most people, it takes years. But here's the thing, the compounding of both money and mindset means the journey accelerates over time. The first $1,000 of passive income is the hardest. The journey from $10,000 to $100,000 is dramatically faster than you'd expect. The single most important thing is simply to begin, not to optimize, not to have the perfect strategy, just to earn that first dollar that earned itself. There's an old idea that says the first million is the hardest, and while that's true,